Hi, everyone. This is Tyler Skinner with Women Making Waves. I am here with Sandra Sarrouf of Cultural Creations, and we had the pleasure of having her on one of our panels recently for Women Making Waves in Leadership, Diversity and Inclusion. And today we're talking about celebrating cultures from around the world and giving thanks for that and the fact that we have all of these wonderful people with us together and in our community. So, Sandra, can you share a little bit about who you are and your background and what's important to you today?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me and including me and wanting to share the stories of so many of us in our community that we often don't hear. So, yeah, I'm Sandra. I have a short little video I'll share, but my passion is really about creating environments of belonging. And through this small business I'm building called Cultural Creations, I my passion is to share the various cultures we participate, have people understand that we all participate in culture. We just do it in different ways, and how we can embrace our differences while also recognizing our similarities. And that's really a building block for inclusion. So I say I'm a community educator, facilitator, I'm a cultural dancer, a traditional artist, and I'm just really passionate about intercultural connections and really creating environments of belonging where everybody can thrive, and bringing voice and visibility to our communities that sometimes are on the fringes. So
Beautiful.
a little bit about me.
Well, we're just so lucky to have you locally too. I think that's great. And sharing what you know and all of your breadth of experience and knowledge to help communities thrive, really, to help everyone come together and for organizations, businesses, trainings, like just learning about each other.
Yeah, and in San Luis Obispo County, we're predominantly a racially white community, yet we have a number of smaller ethnic minorities throughout the county. And I feel like sometimes people don't know that because we're on the fringes, yet we're also there's so many businesses, and we have various cultural groups and organizations and affinity groups. So I love to share that yes, although our county on the whole is not very diverse, we do have small ethnic minorities and diverse populations, which is part of my mission to like bring that all together into the forefront through traditional arts as a platform for social justice, right? We all have our various art forms and expressions, whether it's storytelling or cooking or music or dancing, but that's a stepping stone to connections.
And in a way without language, right? I think that's the beauty of it is you can use dance and music and cooking and food and it can transcend and bridge a lot of gaps. You don't have to have language
Yeah,
necessarily.
I mean, if we can all eat, laugh, play, dance together, right, we can get along. So I say it's like a stepping stone. It's an entry point
I love
into
it.
understanding, where we then can maybe get beyond the performative or beyond the superficial to dig a little bit deeper into what it means to be an ethnic minority in a community.
Exactly. Exactly. So what do you want to share with us? Your video? This is about you and your
Yeah, so this is about me. It's about a 3-minute video. I did it as part of a project as an alumni with Goucher College. I have my master's in cultural sustainability. And so they asked their alumni to do a digital story about what cultural sustainability means to us and why it's important. And so this is a little bit about my journey of belonging. Um,
nice.
so I'll hit
Yeah,
play. Yeah, you
go
can see
ahead and play
it.
it.
Okay.
I was born amidst gunfire and bombings at the height of the Lebanese civil war, to my Egyptian mother and Lebanese father. After 3 years of bouncing around countries in the Middle East and Europe, we landed in the USA, a country of promise for a new and peaceful life full of opportunity. Raised by my mother, we assimilated to American life in a Southern California homogenous town. I remember the day we got our green cards in the mail, with the title Resident Alien at the top. And I asked, are we aliens? I would giggle when friends made fun of my mom's accent or commented on her bright clothing. I would hide my head in the car while the Arabic pop tunes were blaring, my mother's gold bangled arms dancing. I would shrug my shoulders when my schoolmates told me bad, evil people came from Lebanon. I wondered, are we bad? I loved speaking a different language, a secret language with my mom and brother. Yalla ya ulad, she would often yell. I loved our food, the warmth of our home, and knowing that if I belonged anywhere, it was with my family, no matter what continent we were on. I grew up a US American teen, while at the same time able to execute all proper Middle Eastern etiquette. I rebelled, I challenged my mom's un-American ways. I did not think much about my roots until college, when I stumbled into the Middle Eastern music and dance ensemble. That moment, sitting there, watching mostly Americans sing, play, and dance to music I had grown up with, validated a rich cultural heritage I knew but didn't quite respect. Wait, what? In that moment, my identity was embraced. I share the lived experience of so many, both integrating into a culture and sustaining their own. I realized my own dance heritage and traditional arts were a gateway to deeper connections, or possibly, and more importantly, reconnections and validation. Traditional arts are exposure to the vastness and diversity of what it means to be American. Cultural sustainability is the building block of inclusion. I am Middle Eastern, I am a US American, and I belong.
That was beautiful. Wow. And I love at the end you say to my mom. Yeah, I mean that she gave you life and she gave you opportunity and she still held on to something. I mean, I'm gonna tear up just thinking about it. The way you put that together was so beautiful, Sandra.
Thank you.
That was like a perfect way to describe this. And that's what I talk about is that duality feeling of like, I'm American. I grew up in this culture, but I'm also this. Like, that's the multi-layered, like that's what we are. We're just not one thing. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
we all wear multiple hats, right? We have various identities, and there's our visible identities and our invisible identities, and we show up in different ways in different contexts. And so, this video is really like kind of a journey and a growing experience for me as I, at my age now, and throughout, and reflecting on those spaces of belonging, especially with my own children. Growing up here, how I can still share the cultural traditions I grew up with and how they can get little pieces of that, even though I don't have a ton of family around. Because of the war, my family is all over the world. It's only my mom and I in the USA, and then the rest of my family is kind of in different countries. So still trying to maintain those connections and those traditions and bring value and connect and connection, right? It's when you're not living in the place where you're born and you're not growing up in that context, it's hard for me to ever answer the question, where am I from?
Yeah.
It's a loaded question. I struggle with it. Because what does that really mean, right? There's so much of where you're from, I feel like, can be connected to land and to people and to community. So yeah, I'm going on a tangent, but
here you are with your Bengals.
I mean, there's a very traditional.
You've embraced that, and I think it's really. I love that you described that feeling of I want that break, that shattered window was such a great image of just like I wanted to like of just a little bit of frustration and confusion and also like just go, you have to go through that process, I think. I think that you're not alone in that, obviously, of
Yeah,
identity.
and
I think
growing
there's
up
a
as
lot
a
of
kid,
named
right?
identity.
Yeah, and trying to navigate that, like, oh, I just want to be like everybody else. And I am, because I grew up in it, but I'm also a little bit, I've got different ways of traditional things, like the way I greet people or what I eat or, how I treat my elders. And so the connection was when I went to college and I became part of this UCSB Middle Eastern and Music and Dance Ensemble. I felt like for so long growing up, I lived in two worlds, right? I had
Mhm.
my Middle Eastern world and I had my American world. And I felt like in that moment, those two worlds were reconciled. And um, and really that's the beauty of traditional arts, right? And then my own journey. I've been a dancer my whole life,
Yeah.
and really being able to really hone in and find value in my own traditional dance forms, as a way of reconnecting and valuing my own culture, while at the same time being able to present it and share it and expand people's stereotypes of what do Arabs look like.
Yeah, and that isn't, I don't think there's any one way. I know that happens a lot in Latin America and other places where it's like I've been to countries where people look exactly like me, and they speak a completely different language and they have a completely different culture and they eat different food and all this stuff, but they have blonde hair, blue eyes, and I can identify in certain ways. Like, oh wow, you look just like me. But they say I'm this, I'm Dominican, or I'm, from this country or whatever. And it's so interesting to me. I mean, I think that's what you've brought in that video is so fascinating. I want to share. I'm so glad you shared that with us on this platform because the more people that can see that, I think there's a lot of people that can identify with everything you touched on. I mean, even within our own, even if you didn't grow up in the Middle East, or weren't raised there, or didn't come from there and have this duality, you can still relate.
Yeah, well, I think it could, I can relate to a lot of first generation kids, and as well as immigrants trying to adapt and integrate into communities. And so that connection, that similarity of like, okay, yeah, how do we integrate? How do we adapt? How do we bring it all together? And
Yeah. And what are you seeing with and the arts is obviously something you found is a great common ground, like a great way to get people to understand and to come together and unite sort of through dance and maybe food and maybe some other ways. So what is that? Was it, that ensemble that did it for you? Was that the point where you said this is an amazing opportunity, or did that come
I think
later?
not in that moment, I love to dance. I grew up dancing. I've been a dancer. In that moment, I didn't see that as like a stepping stone to cultural sustainability or to cross-cultural connections, as much as like, whoa, like I grew up around this and here it is being put on stage in this format, like what's happening? And so then I later joined the ensemble. I really started to delve more deeply into the traditional dance forms throughout the Arab world, because I didn't even know that growing up. I mean, I knew my own little context and celebrations and what we do. My mother's Egyptian, my father's Lebanese. I grew up mostly in Southern California. So my exposure was through as I traveled and we visited family overseas, or we went to weddings and different celebrations, and it's around the music and the food and the
Yeah.
dances. But then so through college, I really dove deeper into the diversity of the different dance traditions from North Africa and the Middle East, which is really, really complex. Whereas I think in the US, when people think of Middle Eastern dance, they mostly think of belly dance, which I hate that term actually. I think it's pejorative and minimizing of the complexity and the artistry involved in the dance form.
I
Um,
have done it. It is really, really challenging. It
yeah,
really is. It's not, it looks effortless the way some of these women do it. And you just go, oh, I could do that. And then you try to get into it and learn and you're like, wow. I mean, it's a definite skill. It's very amazing. To the
yeah,
beats too, to the drums and the rhythm. Like it
yeah. I
takes
mean, you're an
really,
artist. You're as a
yeah.
dancer in any dance form, you're interpreting music, and there's a whole vocabulary of music that as a dancer in that genre and style of dance. And so, yeah, it takes skill, it takes practice. At the same time, what we would term belly dance is more of this individualized cabaret style that originated in folk forms, right? Which is really about a long-standing tradition of social celebration. Like if I ever go to a party or a wedding or whatever, we dance and we do it. We're not in that cabaret form that you would see on a stage with the beads, but we're just, many a times I've just had my aunties like grab a scarf and tie it around their hips, and then you just get up and you start dancing, and because it's part of the way we celebrate and we dance and we come together. And so, yeah, so there's the folk, the fun, the form of it, and then there's the more professional artistry, skill, talent, which I believe is very important for dancers to learn when they want to perform something and share somebody else's tradition, right? If you're a non-native studying another cultural art form, there's a lot of respect and awareness that comes into that. And if you're going to re-perform it, you want to make sure you're doing it with respect and awareness.
Absolutely.
How it's done.
Well, we know dance is a big part of your cultural background, but what about food? Because we talk about, as Thanksgiving's coming up, and we have this idea of like what that is. Is it like, for a lot of us, it's turkey and mashed potatoes and yams and all that stuff. But what about, we had a little bit of a joke earlier about that, like just putting all of your flavors and your, like the side might be a turkey, but it's a turkey with like different spices. And
yeah. I mean, I grew up, we'd always have the turkey, but we never really ate turkey other than on Thanksgiving. It was just nothing we ate. But so we'd have the turkey, and then we'd have, the rice with the meat and the pine nuts, and we'd have the hummus and the baba ganoush and the pita bread and like all the mizbid, the cucumber. So we'd have all our regular traditional foods, and then we'd also have the turkey and maybe a mashed potatoes or something else, right? Because that's we're doing what other people are doing, and we want to adapt and celebrate, right? So that's where that like kind of cross-cultural influences.
It's all on the table.
Yeah, it's all on the table.
It's like, here's a dish, I just love that. And if you had people coming from, we've had Thanksgivings with people from different countries that come, and it's like they bring their own dish and they're like, we're gonna bring this for you and share this with you. This is something that's special to us. And so we have this whole like smorgasbord of food that's from all over.
Yummy, yeah.
And it's fascinating. I wanted to ask you too about when your mom, I just really kind of want to, if you don't mind sharing more about that, because I think that's amazing. Her, she really held to that, giving you both, you and your brother, it sounds like, that experience, to be able to learn the language and, celebrate that who you are, like where you come from kind of thing. So do you feel like, I know as a teenager, there was that, maybe some of the angst, but I mean, as you got older and obviously now with your own children, you being a mom, do you see that reflected? I mean, do you feel so, you said thank you to your mom, so I'm sure you're grateful in ways, but.
Well, yeah, I ended up, my parents divorced when I was young. And so it ended up my mom raised us, and she was pretty much alone in this country, raising my brother and I, and just trying to navigate a different culture, a different world, finding work. And so I just, being a mother now, I have so much more understanding and empathy and compassion of what she actually was going through at that time, trying to herself navigate how to be in a different country and world and place, right? And how to raise children totally different than the way she was raised in some ways. And so that's where that tension came in, right? Where it's like, well, my friends are doing that. And she's like, well, I didn't do that growing up, and you're not you're not allowed to. So yeah, and she always wanted us to have pride and connection to where we came from. And it was really hard for her to be away from her family. She grew up in Egypt, in Alexandria. She was around all her cousins and her family, and so then, the story's a little complicated. Then they had to leave for Lebanon for political reasons. And then when we came here, so she didn't have a ton of family, but she still kept so close with her family, like over the phone. Every Sunday, she'd be on the phone with, her sisters and her brothers and her cousins, and maintaining that contact. Whenever we could travel, we would travel and we would meet up and be together. So she always wanted to make sure we knew where we came from, what our culture was. We should be proud of it. And so dance kind of really helped that. She was really excited for me. At the same time, you know, being an Arab woman and dancing, there's some tension in that, but overall my family was really supportive and
That's so great.
that connection. Yeah.
And it'll bring you to where you are now. I mean, sharing that with so many others and being able to do that with your work. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's all there. And then, so do you want to share? I think we should definitely see this. We're talking so much about dance. I'm feeling like I want to get up and move.
Want to dance a little bit?
Yeah, I love it. I think the music is so beautiful. I like to hear, there's something about that. There's just something about rhythms around the world that really ignite me. I mean, I'm a dancer as well, so I share that. I share that passion with you. And so, although I never tried to recreate or try to emulate anyone else's cultural dance, but I definitely appreciate it. I go to a lot of events and activities or have friends that do, and I just love watching it. I really have an
It's fun
appreciation
to
for it.
participate and you know, and try, especially if there's people that you know that you can dance with that know a little bit, and it's part of being together and finding that common ground and those similarities. Because I mean, nobody ever feels bad after they danced. We usually all feel pretty good, even if we're silly and we don't know what the heck we're doing. We all feel good.
I agree. Dance is the best way, and you're together in community, and you're having fun. And like you said, it's play, it's creative, it's all these things that I think more, if we had more of, would just be incredible for
Yeah,
our
and
world. There's
I've
no
done
language.
food. Yeah, you're saying without language. Yeah, I mean, the eating, dancing, music, we all connect on that level. And I've been doing a program with elementary schools sometimes called like World Beats and Funky Feet. So I bring a lot of different music traditions and dance styles and share that with kids, which is really fun. But yeah, you want to learn some.
I want to learn some. Let's learn some. This is
so
fun.
You probably don't have a scarf or a hip scarf or something, but what I say is sometimes I've been many at a wedding or a party where just my aunties or my mom will grab some kind of shawl or something or a napkin if their hips are small enough and tie it around their waist, because the dance is, oh yeah, so stand up. Let's see if I have room.
Stand up. Yeah, I don't have a hip scarf, but I'll stand up.
And so again, this genre I'm doing is more of the female, rakshaki is what you would call it in the Middle East, but the belly dancing. So it's really, if you ever go to an Arab nightclub or a party, these are some moves you'll see.
Moves. Now I know what to do.
I don't know some of these moves.
I love it.
I'm trying to get my whole body in here. Hold on. Let me fix this.
You can see.
So one of the classic moves is what I call a classical hip drop.
Okay.
So you just lift your hip up and down.
That's not my body either. I'm going to try to get my hip in there. So you're like up,
down. Oh yeah, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And the women usually always do something like this.
So as you're lifting the hip, your motion, like your arms do this.
Yeah, I mean, they could be here, like in an L. So you lift and drop, lift, drop, lift, drop, lift, drop, lift, drop, lift, drop.
This is a great ab workout too, by the way.
Yeah, let's try the other one.
Say that. I'm feeling like
the cores.
I know. I was like, wow, you need a lot of core work to do this.
Yep, you could do that. You could have your hand on your head. There's a lot of drama, like, oh, life is so hard.
Well, this is true. This is a woman's style of dancing, and there's a male version too, right? Of how they would do.
Well, so
is it a partner dance or is it mainly solo? It's a solo.
No, it's not a partner dance, but like, so if we were at a party, yeah, my uncles would get up. They wouldn't. The moves are a little bit different. Like the guys would do more of like a thrust like this, and usually your finger, like one finger is always up, and they do this.
And the women are doing the hip side.
Like a lot of shoulders.
Like the shoulder moves. See, yeah. I can't even, this is awesome right here. I would just do this all day. I like this shoulder move.
But yeah, like in the cabaret form, you wouldn't in the US, there are male belly dancers, and in different countries in Europe, and they're phenomenal. In the Middle East and the Arab world, you wouldn't necessarily see a male like cabaret belly dancer. It's not totally accepted. There's a few trying to break those gender boundaries, but generally it's not.
Yeah.
But at a party or at a wedding, yes, you would see the men dancing
Right.
and doing these moves. You know,
It looks
sometimes they'll get on their knees and like encourage the other dancers along.
Right.
For the men, so men definitely do dance, but generally, yeah, these are more movements for women. So another really common move is the shimmy, which you'll probably always
The
see.
shimmy.
And that comes from your knees moving back and forth real quick.
That's knees, and then your hips kind of rock back. They do this,
Yep.
like this little wobble. I
And
like
then
that.
to the side and
That's all it is the knees?
yeah, your knees pumping, well, and your thighs, but your knees.
Wow. And look, it just kind of naturally wants to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then your hips will just do it.
That's the
So let's
shimmy.
go back to this one. Let's try both of those. You want to try both of those
Yeah, I
together?
want to try both of those.
Okay.
So we're here.
Here we go. And roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let's go into our shimmy.
Shimmy.
And then the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shimmy. Another fun move is the head slide.
Oh, now that's hard for me. Like,
Yeah, some people get it right away. Others are like, oh my
well, I
God.
think I have to go like this to do it. Easier for me. No, it is. It's easier with my arms up. If I did it this way.
Okay, you got it. Yeah.
Ooh, it's a struggle. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
How fun is that? There it is. There it is. Wait, I get it. I get it.
And then the shoulder shimmy.
And shoulders. Now that's got a lot of, I know that from my Zumba stuff. This is, you can definitely do this.
Yeah, so you can do like shoulder shimmy. So
Shoulder
you'll see a lot of this at a party, or the women just kind of.
And this is women of all ages, right? I mean, you're probably seeing kids up to grandmas like doing this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I can just see the 80-year-old grandma like.
Oh yeah. I remember at my wedding, my grandma like took over the dance floor.
Cute. All right, is that all you're showing us, or you have more?
I'll give you as much as you want.
Okay, let's do one more.
All right, here's another pretty classic move. It's called a large hip circle. So again, this is something I would always see my aunties doing, which is a big.
Oh, they just go around.
Yeah, you just go around with your hips. But there's always some like.
You have like some element of drama, like you said. And I like this. Like it's very, no, it is. It's dramatic movements where you're like expression. You know, you just got this very. Is there some background to this of why there's this? Is it something about?
I'm not sure. I think there's different theories, but just feminine, just.
This feels really good.
Yeah, this actually feels really good on your.
It totally does. It's loosening up your whole lower half of your body. I really like this.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the traditional, and then
I just think the hand movements are so beautiful. Like there's a finger, so you hold your finger like this, kind of.
So
like placement of how you flow your hand. It's so gorgeous. Like watching this, like go.
Yeah, there's like these hand undulations that happen. So when I teach, I'll break these down.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and then like the snake on the arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of hips, shoulders, always very elegant, very lifted.
Yeah.
And very like.
Very empowering. I mean, honestly, this is empowering to me because it's like that, like you said, lifting up, pushing your body in different ways, like where you're like, and you're using this really feminine, I don't know, I feel like a lot of feminine energy coming from this. Like,
yeah, it's grounded in our feminine strengths, right? Our feminine body and coming into that and being proud and having fun, right? It's fun, it's light, it's social, it's engaging. And it's playful too.
I know, I'm trying to play around with all these moves. Like I brush my hair.
You can like.
Oh, that's a good one. This is great. It's like body wave. I'm liking that. I'm keeping that one.
So yeah, so that's this would be like more of the social style, fun,
So fun.
community belly dance. Whereas sometimes you'll see belly dance on stage, right? And taking all kinds of different forms. But
Yeah.
like at a party or together for fun, the women would get together and dance, and then men can sometimes join in and do
Free,
their
like,
moves. Yeah.
it is.
And
Your
so
body just goes.
huh?
I said it's so freeing to me. Your body just kind of goes and flows the way it wants to. It just, but there is a, I guess, a method. I want to say it feels like there's some structure to it, but not really. There's also this like idea of whatever you're feeling can move this way, this way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is definitely structure if you're following a certain genre and form, but whenever the beauty about this style of dance too, it's very improv based. It's very connected to your music and what you're feeling and what you're emoting. And within that, there is a vocabulary of moves that you learn and you know, and that go with music, right? I mean, the more complex you get into it, right? But when you grow up in it and you're around the music and you're around the people, all of that just is part of who you are and what you do.
Exactly. Exactly. That's beautiful. I just want to thank you for sharing all that. Yeah, that was amazing and fun. And it just brings this whole other part of my day. I just feel like, wow, I can do it.
I know you got to take my classes.
I want to take one of your classes. I really do. I think that would be really fun. We could even do it on here. We could do a recording. We could do it. I don't know what you're doing. You're not doing any studio classes right now.
No, they're on
In
Zoom.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we
Yeah,
can
and
always record something.
so that's the fun side of my work, where I can really connect and have fun and dance and be together, right? That's my cultural dancer side. And then the other side is more of the deeper work around education and training around intercultural connections and anti-bias, anti-racism, all of that stuff. Ultimately wanting to create programs for inclusion.
Yeah, that's what it's about. And I think, as we heard at our last event, I love this, and it's stuck with me ever since. Was the diversity is inviting people to the party, and inclusion is asking them to dance with you on the dance floor. And I
Yeah.
can't. Now that we're talking about movement and dance, that resonated with me. Being a dancer, I was like, okay, I get that.
Yeah, we can
I
all
can
connect on
identify.
some level, right?
It's perfect.
And
Well, thank
stories
you.
are a great way too.
What is?
Stories,
Yeah,
just people's
story.
stories, right? Like the story I shared and then you shared, and then that's the common ground. That's what makes us feel connected. And
True. Storytelling.
yeah,
It's kind of missing. I think stories are a beautiful part of what history can be, like watching, generationally passing down a story of like what went on in their. My kids are doing that a lot too in school right now. They are learning a lot about, they're making their own stories, like coming up with, explanations. They do sun and moon journals or things like that. And they're going like, what do you think about where the sun came from? And like, so it's just, they can make up their own version of it. I think that's
yeah,
interesting for them to explore that side of their creativity, of just what that means, imagination, and
right.
seeing what they know, a little bit about what they know and they've learned, but also what they feel,
Yeah,
just looking at it, what they're observing. So
you can create. So
that's so great.
a
Thank
little
you
bit
so
about
much.
me and some cultural traditions,
I love it.
ways we celebrate, and how I melded that into like the American traditions and what we do with my kids, and how it all just blends and comes together.
Well, we're wishing you a happy and safe holiday and coming up. And I hope that you have all the things at your table that we talked about, because it sounds delicious.
My mom's coming up, so yeah, she's gonna do a lot of cooking.
Oh, I wish I could come over and taste that.
Right.
Maybe someday I will be able to
Maybe
do
we'll
that.
have a cooking class one day or something.
We could totally do that. I think some friends of mine that want to be part of this from Puerto Rico, they want to do a cooking demo. So I think definitely cooking is a big part of that too, is cooking together.
Yeah.
I mean, like a virtual, getting everyone the ingredients ahead of time.
Yeah.
We could do a virtual class.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you so
you
much
take
for
care.
your
Be safe,
interest.
and I really appreciate your time and you sharing all of that amazing,
Yeah, thank you for
your video, your culture, everything, the dance, so fun.
thank you for being interested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always. Okay. You take care, Sandra.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.